Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's the John Ross Show. We got a special guest today, Dr. Vincent Gaddis, and we're going to talk about the church and Christian nationalism, and that's going to be a great topic. And I just want to just say one moment here that this afternoon on the 24th here, it is 48 degrees in the Fox Valley. So I'm going to take down my little thermometer so it doesn't get right over Dr. Gaddis and look like he's got a temperature or anything. So we're going to get rid of that thermometer. We're going to bring up Dr. Vincent Gaddis. Here he comes. Just a second. There you are, sir. You're online.
Good
Good
day,
to,
John. Good to see you as always.
thank you. Oh, thank you for saying always. I thought you were just going to say sometimes, but that's all right. You're very kind to me. Uh, Dr. Gaddis is professor of history at Elgin Community College, and that one's one of the older community colleges in the area. And my cousin went to there in the 60s. She was one of the first students. She always had a proud. She was always proud of going there, and then she went on later to Wheaton College. But Dr. Gaddis is professor of history. He's got a lot of knowledge about church, and he can explain a little more about his background there on that front. But he knows a lot about history. And we're going to discuss this topic of Christian nationalism. And Dr. Gaddis, good to have you with me. Then hope we can get a lot of guests listening to this because this is a very important topic.
Yes, it is one that there is a lot of misinformation about it, but it's also something that is real and is part of the growing move to authoritarianism in our society. And we have to be honest and deal with it and where it comes from and what it is, its historical roots, and so on. So, yes.
I want to bring up this Wikipedia. We can't see it too well, but uh, anyway, Wikipedia had a definition. It says Christian nationalism in the United States advocates a fusion of identification anyway with Christianity and conservative with the American civic belonging. Well,
Mhm.
anyway, it says fundamentalist roots, white supremacy roots, and things like that. I was thinking about the white supremacy before I even dug up this definition. It's online. You can get it at Wikipedia. So anyway, that's one definition. And then one thing I just want to say, I did read this book a few years ago. I passed it on to a pastor who left my church, but I wanted to get him on board with this. Uh, but this Tim Alberta is he's in my small denomination called the Evangelical Presbyterian Church, and he went around visiting churches that we would call white evangelical ones, and there wasn't too many. Well, I don't know how he figured out who the churches were, but
Mm.
he he found a lot of this Christian nationalism out there. This is a few years. This is about 2, 3 years ago. I think it was
Mhm.
from 2023. So we know it's been out there a long time. It's not a
Mhm.
new thing, but it's just more bigger, right, Dr. Gaddis?
Right. Well, I mean, when we say Christian nationalism, I think really the proper term we really need to talk about
Hmm.
is to say it completely, right? White Christian nationalism.
Well, it
That's
said
what
that in that
we're
definition. It
really
called it
talking
white
about.
supremacy.
Right. That's what we're
Uh,
really
it's
talking about.
probably hidden in this in that term, right? White
Well,
supremacy.
right. So when we say and when we say it that way,
Yeah.
it highlights exactly what it is and why it's not Christianity, right? It's a political ideology.
Right. Right.
That's the first thing we got to understand. This is a political ideology that is wrapping the ostensibly the church around the flag, right? So
Right.
when we say white Christian nationalism, okay, so first of all, the minute we say that, right, it identifies really where the roots of this comes from, which is a white fundamentalist historical tradition, right?
Right.
White evangelicals opposed the civil rights movement.
Correct.
White evangelicals, conservatives, I'm talking about, who believe that America was founded as a Christian nation, that
Right.
there's some divine providence. Okay, so this is where the white part comes from, because that divine providence, that idea that America is a Christian nation, presupposes the word white, that the real Americans are only white Americans.
This is
Right?
very true.
Then comes, so white Christian. So now this idea of melding conservatism with the Bible in a way that says that all law should flow or be based on uh, really Old Testament law, but we'll say the Bible in general. The idea that um, uh, law or policy must be a, a very strict kind of Christianity. So, anti black, anti people of color, anti LGBTQ, read, anti gay marriage, anti single parent, right? All of those things is what they're saying is Christian.
Right.
So, white Christian conservatism in that extreme mode I just talked about, nationalism, right? So, nationalism. So, um, that we should be living under a more authoritarian, a more authoritarian, more nationalistic way in which democracy, the attack on voting rights, the attack on immigrants,
Right.
all of those things
Hmm.
are part of the nationalism part. So when we look at this and put it together, we see a lot of this that is moving through our policy structures and functions right now.
Right.
So the if you want to look at Project 2025, which a lot of people have looked at, Russell Vaught, the others who created this document, they
Right.
have all self-identified as white Christian nationalists.
Yeah, there's denominations too almost.
And so, right. And so when you look at Project 2025 and you look at its outworking in policy right now, right? Mass deportation, uh, trying to take away LGBTQ rights, creating through the courts a kind of the religious freedom exception. So if you discriminate against a Christian, that's wrong, but discriminating against other religions, okay. Bringing there are in some states they brought the Ten Commandments back into the classroom, and and all of that. And so it's really trying to create an authoritarian
Right.
theocracy, in essence,
Right.
in the country, right? Under a guise of democracy, but a very limited democracy where we take the vote away from blacks, take the vote away from other people of color, take away rights to the LGBTQ community, take away women's rights, take away abortion rights, take away, right? And that's white Christian nationalism. Now, that as a whole has about zero to do with Jesus. right?
Right.
Because if we and people want to say, oh well, Jesus wasn't political. No, he was. He's the head of a kingdom. That's political. But
Right.
the kingdom of God is a kingdom of the Imago Dei, that
Right.
we are all created in God's image. And if
Right.
that is true, then to back any policy, any candidate, any politics that denies the what Martin King would say, the worth of the human personality,
Right.
is wrong.
There's one other aspect that I think you were hinting, with immigration, or that the Trump administration is only going to let immigrants come to our country from South Africa, and I believe some European countries, and that isn't necessarily it's white South Africans too. And so that fits in here what you're saying about white supremacy. And the other thing is, because the way we're handling this, we're losing people. They say that this might be the first time in maybe ever that we're going to lose population in the United States.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of things wrapped up in that.
There are.
So, so from the immigration policy perspective,
Right.
white Christian nationalism is all about getting rid of
Right.
those who are not white.
That's right. They don't.
Now, when you say, "Well, the population is going down," okay, let's talk
No,
about
that's because of
reality
the.
and
Yeah.
mythology. The reality is the United States as a country, right? Citizens, regardless of race or nationality,
Right.
are having babies at
Oh
below
no,
the
my thought was more that we're not immigrants aren't coming here, so that's otherwise our population might be steady.
right. Well,
But
right. I'm
I
addressing
know where
that.
you're
I'm
going too. But
addressing
I'm
that.
just saying I was going the other way, that we're losing because people aren't coming here and we're kicking them out. That's my
Yeah. Well, we are losing that way,
yeah.
right?
That's my that was
We are losing
I
that
think
way.
that's where the statement was from. But
Yes,
you can
yeah, we are.
expand
Yeah,
it here.
I agree with you. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Well,
We are.
I don't have the data here. As they say, I
Mhm.
should have the receipts, brother. I'm sorry. I should
That's
have the
okay.
receipts. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, it's fine. We are immigration at the borders is going down, and
Everything.
we are deporting. But here's the problem. Well, we can get into a lot of problems. One of the issues is the tagline that these folks are clinging to is this idea that we're deporting criminals.
Oh yeah.
The reality is that 2% of the people we have deported even have any kind of criminal record. And so they'll say, oh, but they're in the country illegally, so they're automatically a criminal. Well, not
Oh yeah.
technically
That
under the
line is
law,
so
that
they're all
is a
criminals.
civil offense, not
Yeah.
a criminal offense. So
Right.
that's really not true. But it helps within the white Christian mentality,
Right.
right? It is loaded with these whole ideas of fear and these notions that these or those people are the heathens, the evil ones that must be deported, etc., right? And all of that is a cloak under the umbrella ultimately of white supremacy. You can take the historical look back and you can tag this all the way back to Cotton Mather if you
Yeah.
wanted to, right? It's a through line of racism in this country.
Do you think the black
And the
church can
church
help us
has
out
been,
here?
and the church has been a central part of the of number one, on one hand combating injustice, but on the other hand promoting the very injustices that white Christian nationalism is based in.
Do you think the black church can be prophetic and help out here?
John, the fact that the black church exists is a miracle in and of itself,
It's true.
right?
Yeah,
In and of itself,
yeah,
that's a
okay.
miracle. But there are black leaders who are speaking in that prophetic
Yeah,
um,
that one William
voice.
Barber's one, maybe
William
example.
Barber is absolutely one of them. I would highly encourage everyone who's watching this show to get his book, White Poverty. I think it's a really important book that gets to these issues. So he's definitely one of them. But there are many in the black church who are speaking about these issues and leading on these issues. However, and I don't know, since the 60s this has been a critique, but I think it's important. What Barber is trying to lead is, right, a new poor people's campaign, right? And what we do need is movement, not only at a mass movement level, which Barber is trying to do and doing, I think, for right for the this century a good job. And certainly there was a moment of mass movement in the racial reckoning with George Floyd. But there needs to be not only that, but we need individual movement in terms of people being willing to understand what this is and confront it. You know, when you have uh, people making statements that support white Christian nationalism, and we don't speak out, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking for more black leaders to be outspoken about this. Uh,
I
but
don't want to put it on black leaders, but I think they could be. I just believe it's going to be others instead of
sure,
necessarily the white evangelical
sure.
movement. There's some in the white evangelical movement, I think, like we were mentioning
Hmm.
Jim Wallace and
Hmm.
others.
Sure. Jim
And,
Wallace,
and
even
let's just
people like
hope that
John
there is
Piper.
more. But I'm just saying, I'm just thinking maybe it's going to be others instead of
Yeah.
that way. So anyway,
Well, there have been, it is a call of black Christians to walk in a prophetic
right.
voice.
Hmm.
And but you are right. If we really, because here's really the real nitty gritty of this, right? We have to, every person listening to this podcast, we have to make a decision. As a country, we need to make a choice. Do we want to live in a multiracial democracy where every voice is equal in the law in reality, and where we fight poverty because the enemy is poverty and not race? Is that the country we want to live in? Or do we want to live in a country that becomes more and more authoritarian, more and more legalistic in terms of denying rights to people of color, which ultimately leads to a place of authoritarian apartheid. That's the choice. And so if you say you are a believer in Jesus Christ, you can't believe in the second one. You've got to work for a true multiracial democracy. And that means confronting racism. It means you can't be a white Christian and say you support this administration, mass deportation, anti LGBTQ rights. You can't do that because that politics is a politics of hate and fear. It's not Jesus. His kingdom, his politics is rooted in love thy neighbor as thyself. So, if we want to defeat white Christian nationalism or confront it where we see it, we simply have to ask, in what they're promoting, where is the love in that? Because if it's not rooted in love, it can't be rooted in Jesus. Hope, faith, and love abide these three, but love is the greatest.
Amen.
Right? So if what your church, if what your pastor, if what your faith leaders are promoting is mass deportation, ICE out here disappearing people on the streets, taking away people's rights, taking away voting rights, taking away the effort to create true equality in law, and for more authoritarianism, more militarism, more racism, you need to call that out because what you're following is not Jesus and his kingdom. You're following empire and its goals.
Yeah. I think the church, I think sometimes churches are actually following the politics more than we realize. They're not using scripture background, they're
Yeah.
using their prejudices. Like, the church should be more other orientated, and the politics is not other orientated right now. And I think that speaks of the witness of, I would say, I'm going to speak for the white evangelical church, but I guess I can't. I'll try. But but anyway, I think the other thinking is been lost, and it's been lost for a little. It's been lost for a while, and it really should have been brought up to front more in the '60s there with the civil rights movement. And maybe some churches still didn't embrace it enough about the other, and we just have forgotten about the other. And Jesus was always reaching out to the other. And well, I thank you very much, my friend here. He has another. He's very popular. He's got another engagement. So I thank him for being with us. We'll have to have him back. We can talk more on these type of topics here. I know.
Yeah, I would. I enjoy the opportunity to come back anytime. Yeah, today's show, I just happen to be
I
really
understand your point.
caught in in
And
in
we'll
uh,
just
in the
have to get
grinder
this.
right now.
We have
But
to
I
get
but I
this
would like
around.
to
What now, brother?
leave with just this one thought, and I said it just now, but I really want people to think about this.
What's that?
When you think about your church, when you think about Christ, when you think about what's happening in our country, are you worshiping Jesus or are you worshiping empire? That's the question. Which kingdom are you really promoting?
That's a good point. That is a very good point. Yeah, that's this kingdom, and I think my friends at Wheaton College, the founder of that was a good abolitionist, Jonathan Blanchard, and I don't know where they dug up their motto, but I think it's a pretty good motto. except we just all got to live up to it for Christ and His kingdom, and it's a pretty good motto. And so that's where we're going to be. And I thank Dr. Vincent Gaddis for visiting with me today. And I hope we can get this baby around, as they say, this little nugget of time together. And we wish you well and have a good Thanksgiving, Dr. Gaddis, you and your family, and all our people out there too. Have a great
Thank you.
Thanksgiving coming up.
God
So
bless you.
thank you very much for having time with me. God bless. Bye
God
bye
bless
now.
you. Bye.
So we had the opportunity to visit with Dr. Vincent Gaddis, and we're just so appreciative of him. And we'll hopefully have him back real soon here. And I'm going to put him down. Or let's see here. Where'd my stuff? There we go. Thank you again, Dr. Gaddis.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we had a nice opportunity there to talk with Dr. Vincent Gaddis, and we really appreciate him. And just remember to help out with the pantries in the coming day. We have several pantries in the area that need help, and I was saying, where did my logo go for the Salvation Army? Salvation Army's won, and they're having their campaign to right now to ring bells. It's registered to ring. I was telling a friend about this, and I just couldn't get the name out. It's registered to ring, so you can sign up for community bell ringing with your family, with your friends, with your church group, whatever. Register to ring. And remember our pantries. Salvation Army needs your help. Like I said, and they have a pantry in Aurora that's open on Tuesday. Other pantries in our area, we have the Marie Wilkinson Pantry. This is in Aurora, and that's another one that needs your help. And we also have our, which was up, we were up with Kiwanis the other day, Aurora Interfaith Food Pantry. That's on Jericho Road. The Marie is on Highland in Aurora, and they need your help. And if you know of people that need help, send them to these pantries. So I just thank you for being with me today and visiting. And we had the opportunity to hear Dr. Vincent Gaddis talk about an important topic, Christian nationalism. So till we come by again in another day, I want to say bye-bye right now. And we'll be back on Wednesday, Lord willing. And let me see here. Where did it go? Yeah. We'll see you Wednesday at 5 p.m. This was a little extra earlier because of Dr. Gaddis. But next week, on Wednesday, we'll be back at 5. So if you're just turning in, we'll be back on Friday, on Wednesday. And of course, Lord willing, we'll be back on Friday. So anyway, God bless. Thank you for listening. And we again thank Dr. Vincent Gaddis for joining us today. So bye-bye now. We'll see you soon again.